Welcome back to All This Math. This is Professor Parker, and right about now we're going to talk about simple interest. But we're not going to talk about a typical simple interest problem, because in a typical simple interest problem, we use our formula for simple interest, and we usually calculate the interest income that we'll earn from an investment, or when we take out a loan and we calculate how much interest we'll have to pay, rather our interest expense, because it could be interest income that's coming to us from investing something, or it could be an interest expense that we have to pay out on top of the loan that we take out from another entity that's gaining interest income. And the formula that we use is I, which stands for the interest income, equals P, which stands for the principal, times R, which stands for the interest rate, times T, which stands for the amount of time. All right. So I equals PRT. But then what happens when you find yourself encountered by a problem like this, where you're not looking for the interest income? Because as a matter of fact, you already know what the interest income is. But now you might want to know what the principal was. Like, how much money did they start out with, right? If you have a situation where you earned $800 in interest income and the interest rate was 4.5% and the amount of time was 5 years, how much money did you start out with? You can't use this same formula in this format. The formula we're going to use is based on that formula, but you got to flip it around a little bit. So let me first tell you, what is the formula that you're going to use? Because we're looking for the principal, we need an equation. Instead of saying I equals something, we need an equation that says P equals something. So I'm going to just give you the formula. So it's P equals I divided by R times T. P equals I divided by R times T. This is the formula for how you find the principal. When you know these three pieces of information, the interest income, the interest rate, and the amount of time, this is the formula. Now, if you want to get into it in terms of like, how do we know that that's the formula? We basically just use algebra. We want to isolate P by itself. So this is really P times R times T. That's multiplication. So in order to eliminate something in an equation, we have to do the opposite operation. And ask yourself, what's the opposite of multiplying something? Dividing something. So I divide by R on the right side. I divide by R on the left side. I get I over R. See that? And now I want to get rid of the T also. The T is also being multiplied. So instead of multiplying, I'm going to do the opposite operation, which is division. So I'm going to divide by T on the right side. I'm going to divide by T on the left side. So I end up with T in the denominator right next to the R. That's how we get the formula. Now we got that out the way. Now all you got to do is just plug in the numbers you know and just do the math. So since I want to know what P is, P equals I. I stands for the interest income. Interest income. So I'm going to replace the letter I with an 800. Now R stands for the interest rate, which is 4.5%. But if we've been paying attention, if this has already been introduced to us and we're a little bit familiar with the simple interest formula, we know that we can't use the interest rate in the percentage format. We have to do what? Divide the percentage by 100. We must divide the percentage by 100. And when we divide it by 100, it gives us a number that has the decimal point slid over to the left 2 times. So instead of 4.5, we have 0.045. So the R becomes 0.045. Now, I use the parentheses to show multiplication, right? Now, what's my T? T is the amount of time. T is 5 years. So I put a 5 right there. And now, you just go to your calculator. You do 800 divided by 0.045 times 5. But make sure you do 0.045 times 5 first, or actually, if you type this in your calculator, I want you to do this. I want you to type in 800, then I want you to hit the division sign, and then if you have parentheses in your calculator, I want you to put 0.045 times 5 inside its own parentheses, right? That's what you want to do. And then what happens is, when you get that, you will have $3,555.56. So that would have been the principal, right? if I took $3,555.56, given an interest rate of 4.5% over 5 years, based upon simple interest, I would have received $800 in interest income over that 5-year period. Just interest, right? Now, of course, your total investment would be this $800 in interest income plus the amount of money you started with, right? That's what that would have been. All right. Now, let's do some more examples. Now, I want to show you an example where you got to find the interest rate. And then I'm going to show you an example where you got to find the amount of time. So I'm going to erase this, make some space. So now we're going to find the interest rate. And in this situation, now we're talking about a $10K investment or $10,000. And interest income we made of, let me see. Interest income of $3,500 in 6 years, over a 6-year time frame. All right. Now, if I want to find the interest rate, I'm looking for this right here, this R. So that means I'm going to create a formula that's based on the simple interest formula, but except where I'm solving for R. So I'm going to have R equals I divided by P times T. I divided by P times T. That's the formula I'm going to use. All right. So now I got R, which equals, now what's my interest income? $3,500. So you write that in your formula. And then what's your principal? Your principal is your 10K. That's right there. That's how you know it. You got to read the problem and read the information in order to keep up before you even start doing mathematics. So the 10K is 10,000. So you got 10,000 right there. And I'm going to multiply that by the amount of time. What's the amount of time? 6 years. 6 years. So now I got 6. So now I got R equals 3,500 divided by 10,000 times 6. So then I'm going to have 3,500 divided by 60,000. And then I'm going to have R, let me go back to my notes, 3,500 divided by 60,000 is 0.058. Now, our answer was given to us in the format that it would have been used in the actual formula. But we want it in percentage form. Because remember, just like in the last example, when you were given the interest rate in percentage format, you had to convert it, right, by dividing by 100. Now you get the answer as a decimal. You have to convert that to a percentage. So, and it's still going to be in decimal form, but it's going to be in percentage form also. So the way you do that is either slide the decimal, now pay careful attention to this, either slide the decimal point 2 spaces to the right, because that's the opposite of what we did before, right? 2 spaces to the right to make it a percentage. Or what's the opposite of dividing by 100? The opposite of dividing by 100 is multiplying by 100. So if you multiply 0.058 times 100, you get 5.8%. That's the answer to this question. The interest rate was 5.8%. So if you took a 10K investment and you ended up with interest income after 6 years of $3,500, that means that your interest rate must have been 5.8%. And remember, with simple interest, you're getting the same amount of money every year. So, if you want to figure out how much money did the person get on a year-to-year basis, you would just take 3,500 and divide it by 6. So a little less than $600. Because if it was 3,600 divided by 6 is 600. And that's 3,500. So they got a little less than $600 every year at a 5.8% interest rate off 10 grand. That makes sense. All right, let's do one more example. Let's do an example where we're going to find the time now. Let's find the time. What's the time? Let's find the time. All right. And these formulas, or these formulas and these problems are all based on the simple interest concept. All right. So now let's find the time. If we invest $5,700, interest income of $1,100, 4% interest rate. Now, we got to flip the formula around, because instead of solving for the interest income, we want to solve for the time. I want to solve for that. I want to solve for the time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to divide by P and I'm going to divide by R. So I got T equals I divided by PR. T equals I divided by PR. So take a moment, write this down in your notes if you need to. Time equals the interest income divided by the principal times the interest rate. All right. And now we're just going to plug numbers in. We're going to plug numbers in and then do some slight calculations. So we got T equals I. What is I? I is my interest income. My interest income was $1,100. So I replaced the letter I with 1,100. And then divided by P. What is P? P stands for principal. Principal, by definition, is the original amount invested. Principal is the original amount invested. In this case, it is $5,700. That's how much that was originally invested. That's going to get multiplied by the interest rate. R stands for the interest rate. Interest rate is 4%. Now, in the formulas, we can't use the interest rate in percent format. We have to convert that to non-percentage format by doing what? By dividing by 100. By dividing by 100. 4 divided by 100 is 0.04. Any number divided by 100 is just that number with the original decimal point slid over to the left 2 spaces. Right? So it's 0.04. Now we got T equals this. We're going to do the math. We're going to do 1,100. If you use your calculator for this, if you type in 1,100 first, then you hit the division button. Make sure you put this information in the denominator in its own parentheses. So you will hit the parentheses button, then 5,700 times 0.04, then hit the other parentheses button. We'll hit the parentheses button again. I'm not sure how your calculator may be set up. And then you hit equals. All right. Now, when you do that, you should get 4.8. So we're talking about 4.8 years. Now, 4.8 years. What is that in like real time? So 0.8 years. I know that's less than a year. How many months is that? So 0.8, you would do 0.8 times 12 because a whole year has 12 months in it. Since a whole year has 12 months in it, if we want to find out how many months 0.8 years is, you would do 0.8 times 12. So 0.8 times 12 would give me 9.6. 9.6, you can round that up to 10. So that's roughly 10 months. So this is roughly 4 years and 10 months. All right. Now, using the simple interest formula, we just went through how to find the time. We went through how to find the principal. We went through how to find the interest rate. We've done those 3 things. So now we know, now in addition to originally knowing how to find the interest income from using the original formula, now you should be able to use the simple interest formula to find 4 different pieces of information depending upon what information you're given to or is given to you in the first place. All right. I hope that was helpful. Please like the video. Please share the video. If you have not subscribed to the page already, what you waiting for? Just subscribe. Turn the notifications on, right? I put out content on a regular basis. You never know. You know, I might hit you with a video that either you need or somebody you know needs. All right. You know, so always remember, as usual, there's all this math all around you. Peace.